What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today was a huge day. Today was a pivotal day, and here's what happened today. Today was the day that the GOP negotiators were supposed to meet with the White House officials and kind of readdress and discuss their infrastructure proposal. However, the Biden administration, according to reports, got sick and tired of waiting on the GOP negotiators to get back with them, that over the past few days, they actually put together their own proposal and their own plan to kind of counter their own initial offer. So initially, the Democratic Party or the Biden administration came out with a plan of actually providing $2.25 trillion in infrastructure spending. But today, the reports indicated that they are dropping their offer from $2.25 trillion down to $1.7 trillion. That is a big drop. That is 550, or is technically about $550 billion that they're coming down. And this is actually $1.1 trillion higher than what Republicans initially proposed, which was only $568 billion. So right now, there's a lot of discussions on, is this going to go anywhere? Are we going to see some type of success? But what I can tell you as of right now is that no. A lot of the media outlets took this as a sign that Democrats were willing to negotiate and compromise, and they most likely are. But the problem is Republicans are currently holding a little more power in this fight. Not more power than Democrats, but holding more power than they initially had. And here's what you need to understand. As soon as the report came out that Democrats were proposing a $1.7 trillion infrastructure package, Republicans just flat out dismissed it. They didn't want it. It was not good enough. It wasn't even close. And according to a few reports, Republicans said they are farther apart now than they were last week, which is weird. Okay, let me just explain why this is so weird. It is weird because last week, the GOP was saying that they're at $568 billion, and the Democratic Party and President Biden were at 2.25. Well, they got a little bit closer. But now, Republicans are saying that no, we are farther apart now than we were last week. And one of the reports is indicating the reason for this is because President Biden just flat out came out and said, no, I am not going to impose a gas tax on the American people. I will not do that. The only tax we're going to do is going to be pretty much going right towards the rich and the wealthy individuals. Anybody making over $400,000 per year is going to get their taxes increased. And the Republican Party said, no, that is not what they discussed. That is not where they left off last week. And so that is why they are saying they are farther apart today than they were last week, when initially we thought we are going to get roughly a 50-50 chance this bill is going to happen, and it could potentially happen before Congress goes on recess in August. So we will see what happens there. But here's the reason why. Many reports indicate that Republicans have a little bit more power now than they did initially. And it is because what we know is centrist Democrats like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, they want to pass this infrastructure package, but they want to do it with some bipartisan support. They don't want to rush into a budget reconciliation, which is exactly what Senator Bernie Sanders and the majority of Democrats actually want to do at this time. So here's where we're at. The GOP negotiators understand this. They understand that there are a handful of Democrats currently in the House and the Senate that do want to see a bipartisan deal. The problem isn't in the House. The House can most likely get this passed, but in the Senate, if there's 2 Senate Democrats that oppose this, then that means they do not have the votes. If there's even one Senate Democrat, like Joe Manchin, that opposes a stimulus, or not a stimulus, but a budget reconciliation, then yes, the bill is still not going to pass. It needs all 50 Democrats, and that's going to be a huge, huge issue at this time. So, because of that, this entire negotiation is becoming harder and harder for Democrats because they're trying to force Republicans' hand in this negotiation, and Republicans are not going for it. Republicans understand where they're at and what leverage they have at this time. Here's something else we know. We also know that, and this has been reported by multiple lawmakers, okay, even Bernie Sanders himself is saying, let's just get done with this. Let's stop negotiating with Republicans and let's just pass it through a budget reconciliation. But what we know is Democrats will pass this entire, or close to this entire, $4.1 trillion infrastructure package. They will pass this at some point. They will try to get bipartisan support initially and try to pass a good chunk of this bill. But we know it's not going to happen. We know it's not, the entire bill isn't going to pass through bipartisan support. So what we know is, and this is exactly what Republicans are saying at this time, is whatever they cannot agree on, Democrats will just go and pass this through a budget reconciliation when they are done, which means that right now Republicans don't really have much to fight for. They don't have much to fight for, and because they know what the outcome will eventually be. So what we're hearing is that Republicans are trying to cater to their voters at this time. They're not worried about Democrats. They're trying to cater to their voters so they do not lose their voters, because if Republicans were to come out and say, yes, we agree, let's pass a $1.5 trillion infrastructure package, their voters are going to be like, what? Why did you do that? And then guess what? When it comes time to vote, do you think they're going to vote for those same people again? Probably not. So Republicans at this time, according to reports, are just trying to do what they can to salvage their voters. And then what we're hearing is that when Democrats go and pass this bipartisan bill, whatever it may be, which it has to be closer to $800 to maybe $1 trillion. Okay, if it's anything higher, Republicans aren't going to go for it because they have nothing in the fight. Okay, so that's the reason why. That's the reason why Republicans are just going to come out and just badmouth the offer of 1.7, saying it's too far apart because there's nothing in it for them. But if we come down under $1 trillion, that's where Republicans have a little bit of a win-win for themselves and Democrats as well. So that's the number that most experts currently say we need to be at. We need to be anywhere between $800 to $1 trillion. If it's anything less than 800, Democrats will most likely not go for it. If it's anything over 1 trillion, Republicans will most likely not go for it either. So we will see what happens there. But as of right now, this entire bill, the majority of it is eventually going to pass. But here's the big news. Okay, here's the big news. On top of all of this, the Biden administration is now getting progressives visibly upset because they say that they have all the power in the world. They have everything that they need. They hold the White House, the House, and the Senate. They have the majority. Why can they not pass what they need to pass? And then President Biden and the Biden administration come out and lower their initial offer. This has progressives extremely upset because they were saying the offer was too low to begin with. And now President Biden comes out and lowers it himself. That's not what we want to see. So some are asking, why lower the offer right now? And this is most likely going to be the discussion over this weekend because Democrats, they have to figure out their next move. Because the move that they just made was a decent move. It was a move in the right direction. The problem is it wasn't good enough. And Republicans know that. Republicans understand where they are at, where Democrats need to be, and where they could potentially see the offer getting accepted. But what I can tell you right now is that the infrastructure bill of only $1.7 trillion will leave out quite a bit that progressives want and that they have been wanting in the next bill. This includes a fourth stimulus check. This includes expanding Medicare. This includes trying to figure out a way to increase minimum wage. Okay, now I understand some of these things are in the American Families Plan and some are in the American Jobs Plan, which are two different plans, right? But here's what you need to understand. If Democrats are willing to come down on their own on the American Jobs Plan, chances are they're going to cut the American Families Plan even more. So even though I understand right now we're only negotiating the American Jobs Plan, that $2.25 or now $1.7 trillion plan, I understand that. But what you need to keep in mind is that Republicans are looking at this as, oh, they're willing to cut things here. Well, why wouldn't they just cut things off this other plan as well? And so that's what we're hearing. So right now, is an additional stimulus check coming? It potentially could. It could, but it's not going to come through a bipartisan negotiation. It's just not. Republicans will not go for another stimulus check. Could we see an extension of unemployment benefits? No, probably not. Could we see an extension of the child tax credit? Yes, possibly. But like I said before, it only helps people with children and the children that are under the age of 17. If they're 18 and older, you do not get anything. So that's the issue right now. Some say that all of this, everything that's currently being discussed, could potentially blow up the entire infrastructure package. And this is what Republicans want. This is exactly what Republicans want, to not just blow it up, but slow it down. If it gets slowed down enough until the next election, right, we're still like a year away, but a little bit over that. But if it gets slowed down until the next election, and then we see Republicans gain back either the House or the Senate, the problem there, especially if it comes in the Senate, if Mitch McConnell is going to be the new Senate Majority Leader in 2022, I can tell you right now, whatever the House tries to propose, whatever President Biden wants to get done, is going to sit on Mitch McConnell's desk and die. Okay? So this is one of the reasons why Democrats are trying to push for additional relief, additional infrastructure, and additional stimulus and everything in between, because they say it is needed. So right now, experts do say that stimulus checks are needed more now than ever before, and they say the unemployment is about to end and the American people need more help. But we cannot wait. We cannot wait until the fall. And that's what I've been saying before. That's what I've been saying for the past few weeks, is chances are it's going to happen in the fall. And the reason why currently experts are saying they cannot wait until the fall is because if we wait until unemployment expires completely, and then lawmakers try to go back and discuss and potentially negotiate a deal, the problem is that deal is going to fall in line with the government funding bill that's going to expire on September 30th. So what do you think is going to happen there? If the economy is doing okay, the American people are not suffering too bad, they're not just dying, left and right, chances are Congress is going to focus 100% on the government funding bill for their fiscal year of 2022. So they're not even going to look at additional stimulus. They're not going to look at an additional stimulus check. So that's why experts are saying that if this happens, it needs to happen soon, but chances are it will not happen until sometime in the fall. So as we get more information there, I promise I'll keep you updated on all that information as well. But what we're also getting information on at this time are the talks about what is really causing the unemployment crisis. Why are people not going back to work? There's jobs out there. They're paying a decent wage. Why are people not going back to work? Well, many lawmakers are saying that the unemployment benefits of $300 per week are actually the biggest problem with our unemployment system at this time. But others are coming forward and saying this is not the issue. Democrats say that the problem is the minimum wage, but yet Republicans say that no, the minimum wage has never been an issue until now, and the $300 per week boost is what is causing the minimum wage to be such a big issue. But economists are now coming forward, and this is a big thing, and I thought this was really smart by some of these economists, is economists are saying that the real problem is the restaurant industry. It's not the entire, jobs market. It's not every single job out there. It's the restaurant industry. That's the problem. But if you are, a server, if you are you work in the restaurant industry, hear me out. Don't just bash me yet. Again, these are not my opinions. These are just me updating you on what economists are saying at this time. But what they are saying is the real problem is the restaurant industry. And the restaurant industry operates under a different set of rules, and that they are tipped employees. That's the reason why we're having such a big issue. And that's one of the reasons why our unemployment rate is so high at this time, because it's the restaurant industry. It's the tipped employees that are really having a tough time going back to work. Because why would I go back to work if I'm going to make, I believe the current federal minimum wage for a tipped employee is $2.13 per hour. $2.13 per hour. The minimum wage for a worker is $7.25 per hour. Okay, so a $5.12 difference. So what economists say that must be done is we need to see a minimum wage increase to tipped employees. That is the only way this is going to work. By providing a minimum wage increase to tipped employees as opposed to all employees, this would most likely solve the unemployment issue, and it would get Republican support as well. So that's what we're hearing. And I thought that was a very good idea. That was something that was brought up, I believe, a couple months ago as well, is let's increase the minimum wage. But by increasing the minimum wage, we also increase the minimum wage for tipped employees as well. And so those would be more in line. But what we can tell you right now is that the Republican Party is not going to support a $15 minimum wage, a federal minimum wage. They just won't do that. But some are saying maybe a $10 or $11 minimum wage. But then we got progressives and Democrats that say, no, we cannot afford to accept a $10 to $11 per hour minimum wage and still, try to get there over the next 4 to 5 years. That's not going to work. But some are indicating that yes, there's a potential opportunity here for increasing the tipped employees' wages and leaving out the federal minimum wage of $7.25 at this time, because they can work on that later on in the future. So we will see what happens here, but what I can tell you right now is Democrats are going to move forward with whatever they can get some type of success from. They want to try to provide for lower income individuals. So providing for lower income individuals simply means let's provide a higher minimum wage. But what we know is that there's other avenues around this, because Republicans aren't going to support this. And what we know is the Senate parliamentarian isn't going to go for this either through a budget reconciliation, which means it needs 10 Republican votes in the Senate. So is this something that we will see? Possibly. This could potentially be something that we see over the next few weeks or potentially a couple months. But again, that's something that we just need to wait and see. So as we know more there, I promise I will fill you on all those details as well. But at this time, what I can tell you is that more lawmakers say that additional assistance must be given. They say the American people are just living at this time paycheck to paycheck. And the majority of Americans, even before the pandemic started, were living paycheck to paycheck. But lawmakers are saying that even more people now are living paycheck to paycheck, but they're not only living paycheck to paycheck, they're also living off of their credit card debt. So some say that there's no way to pay off their debt. I even asked people here on the channel as well, is if you are spending any money on credit cards. I personally love using credit cards, but you also have to pay them off every single month. So I have the luxury to be able to do that. But not every person does. And this is why lawmakers say they need to provide more assistance to the lower income individuals, because they do have credit cards, they will have credit card debt, but they have no way to pay it off. And so experts say that if this is the type of spending that we see continue, we are going to see a different type of financial crisis that we have never seen before. That is not what we want. We do not want to go from one crisis to the next without any way to even get through it. So what I can tell you as of right now is that there's talks. Lawmakers are discussing different options. However, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are not getting along, which is nothing new. It's just right now, when the American people are suffering, we would hope that Congress would come together and pass some type of bill to provide relief and assistance to the hardest hit individuals. So as I know more regarding the infrastructure package, possible stimulus, unemployment benefits, and everything in between, I will keep you updated on all the latest news and information. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.